to you is to put the thought process together. How we evolved into a solutions company which helps you digitize. Our core function as a business is to digitize data which is written by hand. And as you heard during my introduction, I have spent all my life figuring out how to convert handwritten forms into business processable data. I was in customer service, in telecom, hotels, banking, insurance, and for a short while I co-founded a BPO organization trying to help banks, insurance companies on converting data and identifying who would probably be the next one to default on credit card payment. Okay, and from there to how did I switch into this particular technology is we actually formed an innovation team which have been working, I probably am the culprit who had banks setting up the first of the call centers in India and make you wait in the queue for X amount of time to understand your balance, or someone has double debited your debit card. So having gone through the evolution of technology, I understood only one problem, which is adaptation and adaptability. Technology fails when it is wrongly implemented. No technology is bad. Implementation and the thought that someone puts into their mind when they are evolving a solution in technology to be put into use. Why ATM succeeded but phone banking did not? Primarily because ATM there was a vested interest. We were in India, after 2 o'clock there is a grill gate. You can't get into it even though your money is inside that bank. And that was a scenario in the 80s. And if it is a 4-day holiday coming, if you needed money, you should go before 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and collect the money and keep it with you. So ATMs changed that scenario. What did ATMs do? ATMs actually took away the work that the bank clerk had to do. Banks cannot give you money just like that. Someone had to authorize it. Someone had to write a clerk has to write it and an officer has to authorize it. Without that, money cannot be released. So what banks smartly did is, they made the customer the clerk and the authorizer. So by doing so, they brought the cost of transaction down. But it was an intelligent way of doing it, and there was a vested interest in the customer. He readily adapted to it. And it took some amount of time. Similarly, internet banking. Internet banking had the same problem. So now I was asked by a leading management education institution and asked to come and teach a bunch of very, very bright individuals to whom I am supposed to teach service marketing. And I thought it should be a cakewalk because I was a very senior guy coming from an industry, and I had about 8,000 people respecting me in a large organization, so I thought these 24 people would also respect me the same way I get received in my business. When I started teaching, I realized two things. I'm teaching to people who are intellectually probably better than me because of their close contact with the subject that I'm trying to teach. The only difference between them and me is a few knocks the experience have given me on my head, and that has tempered my understanding and how business has to be done. So my biggest challenge was I was to go to that college twice in a month, run a class and give them assignments, collect those assignments, value them, and then when I go to the next class, I'm supposed to discuss that. Here, I had to use a huge battery of people because all those fellows will send me emails of their assignments, which I pick out and work till 2, 3 in the morning, value them, put my comments, and I had a secretary who would again scan and put them all back into emails and send it back. That's the time I wondered, is this the amount of time that people are spending? My pedagogic time was probably 20–30% of the time is when I actually am spending on the real purpose of my work there, and a balanced amount of work is being done on doing these kind of unproductive stuff, but they are necessary. While it may be unproductive for me, for the process of education, that was essential. That's what kind of made me thinking. So when I found this product, we put together a product in Digital Pen, primarily with the prime purpose of don't waste human time for completely non-intuitive thing. So when you are filling up a form and giving it for someone to data enter it, what's happening is this person is doing a drab job of day-to-day looking at forms and understanding what is written by hand and converting it into digital text by data entering into it. And 60% of the cost of data processing is in error correction. Why does that happen? That happens because someone is doing a very mechanical job. It may not be a very interesting job to look at forms day in and day out and keep typing it. So when you are doing that, there are errors that are committed. Then I thought, why should there be a need to type? A lot of organizations have kind of said, you go to the internet and put all your information and I will open a account for you. It doesn't work. Only 5% of the people ever asked to do that, do it religiously. So there has to be a way of converting handwriting into digital text, and that should not be a problem. So I went and researched and worked with companies who did OCR, that is optical character recognition. It has been there for the last 50 years. It's not invented by me or invented by any one individual. It is over a period of time, people have created a movement, and OCR probably is effective to about 66%. Beyond that, someone has to still sit down and correct. So we worked with a bunch of guys and created a digital pen solution. This particular technology was born in Sweden, in a university, and was started as a student project. We worked with them and brought this technology to kind of figure out how do we make form processing easier and convert it to digital. So we extended the same logic and created smart classrooms. We saw a lot of people coming and saying that we have interactive boards and interactive classrooms. Interactivity is not necessarily by touching something. It has to come through, if there are 40 people in a classroom, if the 40th student at the end of the class has to come all the way to the board and work with it, it's not interactivity. So we found that gap in the offering that's available in the market and produced this pen with a smart whiteboard. Basically, it's a skin which can sit on any magnetic board. And when you write on a notebook, the technology allows the computer to receive that whatever everybody is writing, they have to essentially use a digital pen, and that comes into the teacher's laptop or desktop. It can be projected according to the will and wish of the teacher, how she wants to do it. So essentially what we said is, we are not going to get into content. We help delivery possible. So digital pens were brought into the format where it can, whatever technology investments that one has done, this actually sits on top of it and allows people to express freely. So here is a situation where I think the teacher is the creator of the best content. Any pre-created content cannot deliver the value that the teacher wants to do. I believe I had a great education. I had a teacher to whom I still owe all the thought process that has come to me, and I still use them as my mentors. So that kind of relationship with the teacher today is becoming impossible, primarily because of the volume of students they handle and the amount of personal time that a teacher can provide. So if we can bridge the gap, if there is a significant possibility of the teacher spending more time doing what he or she is good at, which is educating people and assessing them using technology tools that can provide value to them. That's exactly what we have created. You can have a demo of it live out here in this exhibition itself. And the intent behind this is to make teaching a lot more interesting and for the students to also receive qualitative input. So we have extended that further to create what you call as a remote learning capability. We have created a product, again using the digital pen and paper. Students can participate in live classrooms of very, very well-known teachers who are capable of imparting the subject better. So you don't have to necessarily go and sit in their classrooms. You can actually plug in and take live classrooms and you can ask questions and get answered. So we have integrated our solution with complete Microsoft capability. So you can use all the Microsoft resources that are available in various programs and get these pens to work with them. And that's how we have I've got a quick slide to show you on how these work. Like this is typically the way the solution works. We actually design the form or any form factor that needs to be put in, and we add that form to, in the case of a school, it's a notebook. If you have a notebook which has normally has rules or lines in it, we put dots on it. These dots are the ones that help the pens to identify who is writing what, and these are unique patterns. So you can actually write on the 5th page, your system will, wherever it goes from the target system, the teacher will be able to open that particular page. And you can print this in a form factor, either in a book form or a test paper form or whichever form. And then the user there's a tiny camera inside the pen. This is a typical digital pen. There is a tiny camera inside. This uses a 5 rupee jotter refill. There is no magic in this. The whole magic is in the camera. It actually identifies where you are writing, and it sends it to the computer. You can use an ordinary mobile phone or a Bluetooth access points to get there. And then you can open it and see what is being written. So that's how this whole technology works. So we have implemented it very successfully in some of the rural areas. The benefit this technology offers is this doesn't need full-time power supply. You don't need a specific PC sitting in somebody's table. It can just transmit to a central place. And you can collect data as much as you want, and you don't have to worry about a lot of other technology tools that are coming in. I see a lot of thrust towards tablets, etc. Those are tools which are demanding and which has a whole lot of risk element involved with it. And if the power supply fails, those devices don't work. This is a robust device which actually makes your notebook electronic without having to put power into it. All you need is to, once you recharge this pen, you can write 150 pages with it. And it can seamlessly transmit it to any device, any storage device on the cloud or right within your organization. So with that, I rest my case.
Thank you.